Hey there, nerds. Welcome back to another episode of the Nerdlocker. And this week with us, we have Chase.
How's it going, everybody?
And a blast from the past, founding member, established all of this, Patrick Hayes.
You guys blew that way out of proportion. That was just way too much of it. Hi, everybody.
Man, there we go.
I'm back.
He's back.
I'm back.
He's back. So
Glad to have you back.
Yeah, very glad to have you back. It's been a minute since we had an episode, but we have a lot to talk about. Obviously, we're still in a pandemic, which is why we are also not together. So we are doing this all online. Hope you enjoy our wonderful voices. But some of the topics we have today, we've actually improved in the past. If you've seen episode one way back in 2010, we've improved. We're in a good place. So why don't we start off with Patrick and a little bit of Disney Plus.
So, like everybody else in this world, we've been sitting on our couches, just basically listening to old, records and listening to music and watching a ton of Netflix and watching a ton of Disney Plus. Now that we've seen the end of Netflix, the end by watching all the fucking content that's on Netflix, and now that we've gone through all of Disney Plus decided to reward us this last week with a bunch of upcoming and new content. Things on the slate right now, we're looking at WandaVision. The WandaVision trailer dropped, which I'm pretty stoked on because, to be honest, I've been kind of waiting to see what else is going to be on Disney Plus. I mean, Jim, you can probably talk to this as well with having kids. And after Mandalorian, there was really nothing really to watch. I mean, you watch a couple of movies that you liked, Star Wars movies because you're Star Wars geeks and stuff like that. But
I watched a lot of the old school cartoons. Those were fun.
Right. The old school cartoons, the old school X-Men for myself.
Oh, that was so good. Yes, I watched that. Yeah.
90s X-Men.
I loved it.
You can't beat that. And that song.
Top three for sure, I think.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Intros.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know when that goes off, you know exactly which cartoon you're watching. But they released the WandaVision trailer, which was awesome.
Looks like a trip.
It looks super trippy. I mean, I've watched the trailer a couple times and I keep picking up new stuff every single time.
So it's going to be a real sort of cerebral kind of thing, like in their minds?
I think so, but I mean, here's the deal. So we remember like Age of Apocalypse and not Age of Apocalypse, sorry, Age of M, sorry, wrong reference, Jim. He's very personal about that.
I was wondering how you were tying that in. I'm like, yeah, do it, man.
Yeah, no. Different age. House of M, sorry, that was the series I'm thinking about. House of M, where, Wanda says no more mutants, and she completely splits reality and changes reality in the Marvel Universe as we know it. Eliminates the, that we get like, 198 and like a whole bunch of other titles where the mutant community just gets cut to shreds. We know that Wanda has that capability of altering reality to some extent. And I think this is what we're going to see. Now, for me, and you guys feel free to jump in, it's a little bit different because we know Wanda's reality bending power, right? But we also, have you guys read Vision, the miniseries, the series that went on?
No,
the two series. Okay. So the Vision series, I can't remember the writer. Brandon was here. He would be able to tell me, and I have it somewhere in my cave that I'm sitting in right now. You would be able to see it, but Vision moves into a normal neighborhood and starts to pretend like being part of the Avengers is like a 9-to-5 job. And Vision's wife in the comic book series is basically Wanda. And we get to see them interact in a way that is what Vision had in his mind of what a perfect family is. I think we're going to see the flip side of it, what Wanda thinks is a perfect family in her side, in her mind. So
see, that's interesting. I had a thought that maybe it was the other way from the comic book where because Vision is sort of this android, whatever you want to describe him,
Mhm.
that he is gone at the moment, and probably for good, but that this is sort of in his head, a collection of things like the TV shows, basically from the the 50s and the Leave It to Beaver and that sort of thing, and that this is what he's imagining his life with Wanda would be, and as a computer, he's sort of processing these things from what he's seen on TV and such.
I can see that. I can definitely see that. I think the one thing though that steers me away from that theory is the fact that there's a couple of scenes where you see Wanda start changing the surrounding areas. Like she changes the TV set, she changes like the overall like aesthetics of the living room and all these other things. So that makes me think that this is Wanda's vision of her life with Vision.
That makes sense.
So that's the only part that really makes me think about it. But I'm stoked about it because finally we get something else besides Mandalorian, something else besides Disney movies that didn't quite make it out to the movie theaters.
Maybe I missed it, but have they talked about where WandaVision takes place in the MCU timeline?
I didn't see anything about it. I mean, there could be something else out there, but there is some tie-in to after Vision dies,
because she's talking to that lady in the car, right?
Right. And he's like, aren't you dead? Or there's some kind of reference to you're dead too.
Yeah.
So there's like, is this purgatory? Is this limbo? What is this for Vision? So is
this? It's probably another unknown question, but is this in her mind or is this in Vision's?
That's what we're saying.
Can you tell?
I think personally that it's in Wanda's, versus.
Does she know, or is?
That's the thing. Is she crazy? Is she crazy Wanda from the comics, or is she sane Wanda from the cinematic universe? Right. That's the big thing that we're trying to figure out. Is like which Scarlet Witch are we getting?
Because in the comics, was that before House of M or after House of M when Vision and her were living in the suburbs?
That was after.
Because I thought there was some animosity towards her, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Then okay. So it'd be interesting to see if she feels some kind of guilt for something, and this is what she's doing.
Who knows? I think the cool thing with the cinematic universe and what they've done with it so far is that they've managed to split away from the comics, but yet still keep some of the same storylines and veins going, which I dig a lot. I love the fact that I can relate to some of these stories because I was like, oh yeah, I know that reference. And like, oh yeah, I know where that comes from. So
it's pretty amazing what they did with Civil War and then the Infinity, that these are comic books. They're huge arcs and they're nothing like what the books are, but they pulled them off just as good.
They pulled them off just as good, and they kept the overall vibe of them going. You know what I'm saying? So that was actually kind of cool. So we have WandaVision. Next, we have our Nick Fury series, which was just announced. I'm super stoked about that again as well. I mean, Samuel L. Jackson. Who doesn't like some Samuel L. Jackson? Right. And my thing is the thing I'm most excited about is that we have like Kyle Bradstreet, who is one of the writers from Mr. Robot, attached to it, which was I don't even know how to describe Mr. Robot. It was such. We have an E anyway, right? So we got explicit anyway. It was such a mind fuck that it was just like ridiculous, like towards the end. Very M. Night Shyamalan ding dong. So it was good, and so I'm curious to see where that's going to go. I think we talked about it before the show. Sam is getting up there in age, so he can't do so much of the action, but maybe he can do more of the psychological thriller stuff, which would be a good way to still be Nick Fury without having to be like jetpack, Nick Fury, jumping off and stuff. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, and if the writing is anything, and I'm not saying they're going to retell Mr. Robot, but if it's anything with those layers that was going on, and it'll be very similar to like Winter Soldier with the intrigue and what who, what, where,
Yeah.
why. Where it's
That's
like, wow, and that'd be great for Sam Jackson and Nick Fury to kind of come back.
So on the topic of Disney Plus, I know Disney said something a few months back about getting rid of their physical media.
Mm-hmm.
Is that in entirety, or are they still going to release Marvel films on physical? I'm just, as a collector, it kind of worried me, you know.
I haven't heard anything about it, but I mean, a lot of the studios are switching over to like a digital medium because they feel like that's the easiest way to go. You guys said that there's an extremely huge cost in regards to releasing physical media. Just from my experience alone, oh man, you're talking about for every piece of content that you see on TV or something like that, there's at least 1,000 DVDs printed for that particular piece of content. And then there's thousands of man hours that go along with protecting that content. So if they can, just from my aspect, if they can eliminate some of that, that's a couple mil right off the budget right there.
Yeah. Figures it's based on money. Makes sense though.
But it's I mean, on the same token of that, Chase, look at records. I mean, records were theoretically dead, and they're now back. a big deal. So
I hope it goes that way because you know
the steelbooks are really popular. So if they do more of the collectible versions, and those are limited numbers, so that they don't have to produce all the DVDs and all the Blu-rays.
I just got this one. I got Mad Max Fury Road on steelbook, and I love it.
I saw that with you, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was a good one in theaters. Speaking
Patrick,
of theaters,
side note, we went and saw Fury Road, and these moron rugby players in front of us turn around and go, "Wait, this isn't the first one? There's more?" I was like, "You've got to be kidding me! How are you in this theater?"
You just need to leave. They got free tickets. That was it. That was 100% it. They got free tickets somewhere.
That's how they got it. So, real quick, just last ones is like Falcon and Winter Soldier that got pushed to 2021, unfortunately, but there was some cool set photos. Jean-Pierre was on set. They had some cool set photos for that. The big thing for me that I'm more excited about than any other of the like slate news that's coming out is honestly the casting news. So we've got Iman Belaney, I think her name. That's how you say her last name. Miss Marvel for the new Miss Marvel role. That's amazing to have your first Muslim superhero in front of the camera. That's going to be not a big player.
Is that going to be a movie or a series?
It's going to be a series on Disney Plus, but she will have an appearance and be in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as well. So
whenever that comes back.
Oh no! It's coming back already, buddy. Just don't worry. Like there was just news. Like I mean, literally, I read about an hour ago that my boy Doctor Strange will start filming this fall. So
how do you think that's gonna go? Sam Raimi, Doctor Strange movie. That sounds crazy.
I'm on the fence with Sam Raimi. Like Jim is smiling because he knows how I feel about the Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
You mean the first two, the third one that doesn't exist?
Yeah. That's the first two that do exist in my mind. The third one I'm still trying to flush as often as possible.
In fairness, he was forced to use Venom. That was not his choice.
I know.
Yeah, I heard he got messed with so bad on that.
Yeah. That's typical Sony BS, but that's a whole nother story. But I'm excited about the casting news. So we got that. This will be her first role too. Talking about pressure. This is your first role in the MCU, and you're a title character. First role ever.
That makes me think of Daisy Ridley. You know, taking on Star Wars.
True. We have, and I always butcher her name, Tatiana Malazia. I forgot. Anyway, the girl from Orphan Black. she's awesome. She's an Orphan Black, and she was in Perry Mason, and she's playing She-Hulk. So I'm excited about that. But of course, the best one is Moon Knight. Everybody, Chase, you don't know yet because you haven't known me long enough, but Moon Knight is one of my unsung heroes that I follow religiously.
Is that the one they've been pushing Keanu Reeves for?
I don't think it's Keanu Reeves because
his name's been mentioned for that one, right?
His name's been mentioned for it, but and he's also in the running for some Marvel superhero in the rumorverse. But
and I hope nobody gets mad at me for this, but I've heard he's sort of the Marvel Batman. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, it's not that simple.
It's not that simple.
I figured it's just
he's well, okay. So Bendis did a good run. That's one of my favorite runs, by the way, is because he made him. If Batman was to crack, that's what you would have. Like he developed.
You mean if he broke his rules, or if he just went nuts?
No. If he went nuts, trying to keep his rules. Because remember, you've got an ancient Egyptian god living around swirling around your head, and you're trying to maintain your own separate identities between Mr. Knight, which was my favorite version of Moon Knight, the cab driver, and the Mark Spector international Playboy Bruce Wayne type. He had 3 different personalities that he portrayed throughout the series. And Khufu's like sitting there just hammering him like, you have to be the vengeance. You have to be vengeance. You have to be vengeance. So he eventually just cracked. And that's when we got the great run on Moon Knight. But according to the studios, the reason why I say it's not, I don't think it's Keanu Reeves, is because the studio supposedly is looking for a Zac Efron, a Jewish Zac Efron. Which, surprisingly enough, Zac Efron is Jewish according to IMDb, so I don't get that. So wouldn't it be just Zac Efron? The reason why there's news popping up because they're casting 2 of the major characters. You got Frenchie, who's his best friend, and Driver slash like he's like a slash between Murdoch and not Hannibal, but I would say like Murdoch and Baracus. So B.A. Baracus. So that's that character. Then you have Marlene, who's going to be the love interest, who's the major heroine in the whole thing, and she's being casted. But there's no talk in regards to who exactly is going to be playing Mark Spector. So I'm waiting with bated breath, like a little teenage girl, to see who exactly will be playing Moon Knight.
No comment.
Yeah, I know. It's all good. Outside of that, that's pretty much it. All I've been obsessing over this week. Jason, you mentioned something like we talked about the Disney Plus and moving away from movie theaters. Like we have Mulan, which I haven't seen, sorry, but I mean, you had some interesting thoughts on that one. What's going on with that?
Well, I saw one thing saying that their subscription base jumped up 68% on Disney Plus, despite the extra $30 that it costs.
Wow.
To purchase Mulan. It's still 68%. My thing is, I love the movie experience. So this whole talk of going away from movie theaters, steering away from it, always is it bums me out, But I also see the benefit of it. I mean, Bill and Ted made a killing. Mulan, one of the first ones that everyone was really watching was Trolls World Tour, right, which made a killing. And then on the other end, you have movies like Tenet that was supposed to save the box office. It was the Christopher Nolan. This was going to be it, and it tanked here. I think it's made a little over 30 million so far.
Yeah.
It would have made that in one day if things had been normal. It would have made that the first Friday. Let's see. They're talking too about. I was reading how they're interviewing a lot of the movie theaters individually and how much of a health risk it is. So all these things are pushing these theater or these studios to go towards digital releases. Everything's pushing towards digital releases, and it's a bummer to see. And
it sucks, man. It absolutely sucks. Like I remember me and Jim, we talked about this, about the movie experience. Like, you know, we love the movies. My second job, actually. My second all-time job was as an usher in a movie theater. And I tell my kid, even to this day, I'm like, hey, you want to work someplace? Work in a movie theater. He's like, why? I was like, 1, it's air conditioned. 2, you can take dates there fairly easily and cheaply. Like, ask your mom. That's how I got her. And 3, I could barter freaking movie tickets for favors at other places. So I would sell like movie tickets, movie passes that I would get from work, you know, because we get free movie passes and stuff, to people who would work at amusement parks and get tickets to amusement parks and trade for that. But overall, nothing beats that experience, you know?
Oh, it breaks my heart when I go into comment sections and people are just so callously talking about, well, I don't care if they come back. What can a movie theater provide me that I don't already have at my home? And I couldn't disagree more with that. Like right now, I have a 60-inch screen, surround sound, all the movies I could ever want, and yet the idea of losing the movie theaters just bums me the hell out. You know, that experience. Yeah, you can have the annoying people. That happens. The concession prices are ridiculous, but there's just something about being there, you know?
Well, case in point, it's going to see Endgame. One of my favorite things in the whole damn movie was Captain America gets his ass kicked. He's down. He gets up, puts his shield back on your left.
Oh, goosebumps.
And like the whole crowd is like, oh, and then opens up and out walks T'Challa, and you're like, what the? And then Sam, and then all, you know, Avengers assemble, and you're like,
oh yeah.
How about when it reveals Cap catching the hammer, man? Oh
yeah. I still watch that reaction video, because there's a reaction video floating out there that has that scene, and you watch them just like you watch the whole movie theater just go absolutely bananas. Yeah. And that's exactly what you're talking about. That's exactly what, you know, movie theaters bring to the whole experience. It's that communal experience of, holy crap, this is awesome. Or, you know, somebody making a comment and you're like, yeah, I agree with that. You know, there's like little bits and pieces that go along with the movie theater experience that I would never trade in a million years.
Like, I feel like I grew up in a movie theater. You know what I mean? That was my home away from home.
My movie theater job.
Go ahead, Patrick.
No, my movie theater job was literally outside the practice field of my high school. So I would leave school, walk across the practice field after football practice, and then go straight to work and walk into the movie theater. And it was like, you gotta understand, I'm so old that I think I've told you this. I told you this, Jim, that my first movie experience working in the movie theater was when my movie theater I worked for set the Guinness Book of World Records for the largest omelet for Jurassic Park. Jurassic Park was opening, and the assistant manager that was working for us at the time was this ex-prop master from Hollywood, right? And he had all these cool props. And he's like, we should set a record. I was like, well, my manager was like, what record? The largest omelet. So my first day at work, I had to jump on a VW Bug to smush the roof in so it looked like a Tyrannosaurus Rex stepped on it as a prop to sit it out front of an omelet that took up the whole entire parking lot of the freaking movie theater at like 7 a.m., 6 a.m. in the morning. Guinness Book of World Records came out. We got the record in 1994, I think, which is dating myself even more.
Patrick, not to interrupt you, but that was the greatest day ever
Yeah.
I turned I turned 16 that day. The day it was released was my 16th birthday.
Yeah.
Can
Well,
I
you know
age
about
you?
that, youngin?
Can I age you
hits?
guys even more?
Mhm.
That was the first movie I ever saw in a theater.
Nice. My first movie was when I saw in the theater,
Huh.
Empire Strikes Back.
Nice.
Empire Strikes Back. My brother, I remember distinctly because my brother was born in 1978, and he was still being swaddled as a little kid while we were in the movie theater. And I remember watching the scene from Hoff and then going to talk to my friends in kindergarten about Laugh It Up Fuzzball.
You know, see, that's another thing about the experience that can make even the worst movies something memorable. Like, as bad as or as much as we hate the prequels, I remember waiting in line for those.
Mm-hmm.
I remember talking to people. I remember going to the midnight movies. I remember that the experience was so much fun.
Yeah.
To lose that so you don't have to put your pants on is a lame excuse, you know?
I remember having to explain to my bank manager, because I worked at a bank when Phantom Menace came out, why I was taking off that Friday. He couldn't fathom that was the reason. I'm like, yeah, it is. I'm taking the day off because I'm going to be up all night watching.
See, for Phantom Menace, I had just got out of the Marine Corps, and I think my buddy, one of my best friends, was a manager over at Lids, the hat store.
Mm-hmm.
And he made me assistant manager. So he made sure that we closed that night of Phantom Menace so we could turn around, close. I think we sat in Red Robin for like 2 hours and got hammered, and then walked over to the movie theater to watch Phantom Menace. And that was like an awesome experience because like we had all the Star Wars nerds, which I was like all about, and he was just like, "Look at these nerds!" I was like, "Shut your mouth!" Like he's another Marine too, so we're both like, people are just looking at me like, "What is this guy yelling at this other guy for?" And we watched Phantom Menace. The tape broke. The film broke in the middle of the Naboo battle scene.
Oh no!
Like right in the middle of the scene, right when the shields go up and like the droids are coming, and it's like, just melted, and everybody was like, "What the fuck?" It was awesome though.
I remember that happened to us when I saw the most recent Indiana Jones.
Crystal Skull.
Yeah, like I realized what it is now, but at the time we were excited. It's a new Indiana Jones, and in the middle of the movie, it took a shit, and everyone was getting pissed. Of course, we didn't know what we had. Look forward to.
Hopefully, it wasn't during the Shia LaBeouf swinging through the vines monkey scene. I
don't think it was during that. No.
Damn it! That could have been burned out of the movie completely. Oh well. Speaking of things that can be burned out, no.
Okay, so in the speaking of experiences, as much as we hate part 2, what's the best part of the movie in your opinion?
Part 2 of
episode 2. Sorry.
Oh man.
One of the best parts. For me, it's the Yoda fight.
Yeah, Yoda fight is good. I think. Yeah, I would have to say Yoda fight will probably have to be the best because, like, I really hated that whole courtship scene.
So I'm sitting in there. This is the premiere. I mean, there's not a seat left, and it's getting close to that moment in the movie, and I could not hold my pee anymore. So I had to go. I was running, ran to the bathroom, came back, and he's literally putting his lightsaber away, walking away. I missed the entire fight.
Oh my God.
I was with a friend. I go and sit down. He goes, "Dude, you have no idea what you just missed." I'm like, "I don't want to know. I don't want to know." I was so pissed.
That is amazing. But I mean, I don't think movie theaters are going to go away. I don't think, the experience that we have and these experiences that we're talking about are so crucial and such a big part of American history and just cinematic history in general that I don't really see it going away. As much as people want to technology it away, You know, like people are like, oh, technology, we can do this better. But you can't do that better. You know, you can't have that experience. My son to this day would think about the times when a Marvel movie would come out, and this is going to be ingrained into his memory until he's an adult. Every Marvel movie that comes out, we used to go to this one specific movie theater that had rumble seats, and we would make sure that we would get rumble seats, and we would get the Saturday afternoon showing, so we had plenty of time, and we would get pizza afterwards to talk about the movie. So every single Marvel movie from like, I think it was like 2004, 5 to 2012, we went and experienced it in that way. So to him, that is the only way to experience a Marvel movie.
It's a communal experience.
Yeah. And like for him, it's like we went to go see Endgame, and he's like, man, I really wish they had rumble seats here. And that's it. You know. So
well,
they're gonna go away.
I wrote an article about a year ago, just about how I associate going to movies with my dad. He's the one that showed me that experience. He showed me the magic of it. So when I go to movies, I feel connected to him. So that's just yet another reason why, you know, people talking about getting rid of it, it kills me, you know?
Yeah.
I remember my mom helped me, but at the time I was young enough that I had it in my head that I was taking him to go see Face Off in theaters. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
But I had it in my head that I was paying for it. Like I had earned it somehow. I don't remember. But I was paying to take my dad to go see Face Off. And I remember that to this day. That was in 96, 95?
Oh, geez, yeah.
I remember it vividly. I remember walking into the theater, picking our seats and everything. Like
Face Off. Wow. That's a classic.
I remember going with him to see The Grudge and how stupid it was, and we were pissing everybody off because we were laughing so hard. Like, I don't like being those people normally, but we couldn't help it. We were just laughing the entire movie. It was so ridiculous. But those are the experiences that I have, and to think that, you know, future generations wouldn't have that is.
Like I said, I think it honestly will. They will come back, and they'll just have to change a little bit of it. I mean, you know, you have a different experience nowadays with movie theaters.
That's what I was going to say. Like, Patrick, when we worked in the movie theater, there was no stadium seating. There was no any digital. No. I mean, what was it? There was no wide presentation. THX was kind of new. So I think theaters for a long time just kind of lived on this old, just pack a bunch of people in with a big screen and show the movie. And then since our time working in theaters, they've had to evolve with stadium seating to now almost like couches and recliners and food service and better presentation, IMAX, better sound. So I think that's making it even better and more enticing to go back.
Have you ever been to the Tropicana Theater? I think it's called the Tropicana Theater.
The dollar one? I mean,
yeah. The one where you feel kind of like in danger when you're going there?
When I first moved to Las Vegas, I interviewed for a manager job there.
At Trop and what?
It's Pecos.
Trop and Sierra?
Pecos.
Oh,
Pecos.
Okay.
Yeah, it's across from a Walmart.
Again, another stupid memory. I remember going to see, the only one I've ever gone to see there was Scott Pilgrim. And midway through the movie, there's a point in the movie where it's completely normal before any weird things start happening. Yeah. And then it just goes off the rails. Right before that happened, I get a phone call that my mom is at Walmart sick and she has no way to get home. So I had to leave the movie to go pick her up. And then I remember going to see it again, and then everything just starts going crazy. I'm like, is this the same fucking movie? Like, what the hell is going on?
That's an awesome movie, by the way. That's one of my,
it was great.
One of my all-time favorites right there. It's one of my all-time favorite movies. So, like, the last thing we have on our list is the Scott Snyder. Scott Snyder, sorry. Yeah.
I did the same
Zack
thing
Snyder.
earlier.
Yeah,
I was like,
Scott
oh yeah,
Snyder.
the Scott Snyder.
Zack
cut.
Scott Snyder,
Doesn't sound
Zack
right.
Snyder. Yeah, Zack Snyder. Sorry. Zack Snyder, Snyder Cut, WB debacle. Nah, I won't say debacle. I mean,
You
yeah, I can say debacle. I don't work for him anymore. This is the thing. I was talking to you guys earlier, and I feel like they're shining a turd here on this one. Because an expensive turd. Originally, it was supposed to be, when was it supposed to be released? It was supposed to be released like a while ago.
Yeah.
And now there's reshoots and there's like all this other stuff, like a $70 million budget attached to it.
That's a new movie.
That's yeah. That used to be a new movie. Nowadays it's like
Maybe not a big budget superhero movie, but
right. It's half. Isn't that the budget for
drama? Nice
for
drama.
Joker? I heard it was like close to the budget of Joker.
That could be.
Right.
Yeah.
That's ridiculous. I mean, here's the thing.
55 million.
55 million was Joker's budget?
Yeah. Made over $1 billion.
Holy
Talk about a return, huh?
Yeah. Well, I mean, Joker was a good movie. I have to admit, Joker was a really good movie, but the $70 million investment on the Snyder Cut, I mean, what else can they do? Jim, you know more about this than I do.
I just don't see how it can be that different.
Well, it's funny because I remember I didn't see the theatrical version. I went and got the extended version that came out, not the Zack Snyder, but the whatever extended version they released digitally. And I saw it and I'm like, okay, that's not as bad as people were talking about with the theatrical version.
Mm-hmm.
And now all of a sudden they've got this Zack Snyder version. And this is what people, supposedly fans were clamoring for. We want this cut. We want this cut. I don't personally know anybody that wanted that. You just see it on the internet. Mm-hmm. And they were going to release that cut. That was HBO was going to release it. Cool. But then all of a sudden it turned into they're going to release 4, I think, hour-long episodes of this movie. You're like, wait a minute, did he shoot that much film? And then they show the trailer. I'm like, this doesn't look anything like the Justice League that was released. And then we're getting the news that the $70 million reshoots, they are targeting a 2021 release, but no specific date, even though when they announced they were doing this, it was already supposed to happen. So it reminds me of when we were at San Diego Comic-Con and Man of Steel had come out, and out of nowhere, they're like, and then we have Dawn of Justice and I'm sorry. They were called just Batman versus Superman. Everybody's like, oh my God, yeah. No details, nothing. And clearly they had not planned a thing. They just announced the title. And it was like, you guys don't know what you're doing. And that was before we knew they didn't know what they were doing. And I feel like that's what's going on here. It's like, you guys have no idea. You're still trying to pull this game. And the rest of us are like, we know what you do now, WB. You suck at this game.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest thing. The biggest evidence, the most evidence that I've seen that WB doesn't know exactly what it's doing, and without revealing too much, is Swamp Thing. Have you guys seen Swamp Thing?
No, because it was on the dumbest release channel ever.
Right, the DC Universe channel. So if you can get a chance to watch Swamp Thing, the series, by far it was the best series that WB has ever put out, hands down. Like when I say that, I mean writing wise, it was a little slow in the beginning, but once it started going, it got going. It touched on that dark universe of DC that has like, Constantine and Swamp Thing and, this very mystical underlying group that was just unbelievable. It had callbacks to Thing, the original John Carpenter Thing. Like it had actual creature creation done in the production, not CG, but actual like old school with a little bit of CG to spice it up to make it look more realistic type of creature creation that was just unbelievable.
That's how you're supposed to use computer animated.
That's exactly right. Exactly. That's the way you're supposed to use it. That balance. You have to try to find that balance between, creature creation and CG. You don't want completely CG where you don't feel that it's real, but you don't want it to be.
That's why I think some of the best people who utilize that technology the best are dramatic directors. Like David Fincher does it better than anyone else. He uses it to create backgrounds rather than entire people.
Right.
He uses it to blend rather than encapsulate, I guess.
But they literally used one of the old remember, I don't know if you remember when the head pops off in the thing and it turns into the spider. Remember that? Okay. So the thing. So this was the first time my brother ever cussed in front of adults because he repeated that. What the fuck was that? The line.
No,
I shit you not. It was in the middle of a family reunion too. And
how old was he?
He was like maybe 6.
That's fantastic.
He was like, "What the fuck was that?" And he repeated it line for line. And I remember saying like, "Oh shit!" And then my whole family were watching it on the big screen. The whole entire family turns around and looks at my brother exactly and looks at my mom, and my mom just turns beet red. I'm like, "Oh man, you're so dumb. You're so dumb." But yeah, they had a call out for that, which was awesome in the movie, in the series. So, and they canceled it. That was a crazy thing. The execs,
I believe they canceled it like almost right away. Like I don't even know if it had run yet. Like they announced they were canceling it.
Yeah, they canceled it before the last episode even finished. Yeah, that was it. I remember I had a production assistant come in like, "Hey, I know you like this movie. I know you like the series, but it's canceled." I was like, "Oh, thanks. That just ruined my lunch."
And they haven't moved it over to HBO either. That's what pisses me off. Like they do.
That's the thing.
But they haven't moved that over, and I'm like, "You motherfuckers."
I think it's because and I could be wrong here, but I believe NBC purchased the rights to it.
Is it going to Peacock?
No, it's going to go to Sci-Fi. It's going to go to Sci-Fi.
Wait, is that because I know they had Constantine for a while with their show? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah, they're moving it over. There may be some life in it some way between.
They don't own Dark Justice League, do they? Or Justice League Dark, do they?
No.
I hope not. God, I hope not.
See, I think this is a strong argument.
I don't want NBC to own it, but then it means WB owns them and they suck too. So whatever.
I think this is a strong argument for what we were talking about earlier about movie theaters and physical media. I'm so sick of chasing these streaming services to try to find the show I want to watch. Like just something to pass the time. I would watch that 70s show all the time on Netflix. They got rid of it. They do that all the time. How many services has Friends jumped? The show Friends, like 3.
3, I think.
At this point,
the content creators are finally realizing, hey, we can do it our own and make the money. I mean, Disney's probably the biggest example, where it's like, we got all this content, it's ours. We're going to release it ourselves, and nobody else gets it. And obviously, years ago, that screwed up Netflix because they made the deal with Netflix to do Daredevil.
I miss
Iron
that show.
Fist, Defenders,
Not so much
Jones, Luke Cage, and then it was like those were awesome.
Punisher.
And then Punisher, thank you. It's like I know I'm missing one, and I'm like, well, nobody likes Punisher, especially the Marine in this group, right?
Yo, man,
totally messing with you.
That's my favorite.
Such a good series.
Go easy.
Well, it's so great that from what I've heard, John Bernthal is going to continue to be Punisher as he should because it was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh,
but anyway, it was just a content realization that these creators are like, well, we own Friends. Why don't we create a platform a la now HBO where we can show every single Friends episode and it's ours? And like, all right.
Yeah, I mean, it was. I mean, to be honest, like I know you guys hate hearing this, but it is all about the money, and it's it's good business sense. I'm not gonna lie. And we're gonna have an episode later on about like the DC decision on business sense and how that can kind of screw an industry up. But with Friends and stuff like that, you can't really fault him for it. I mean, it's like how many episodes? Like 300 and some odd episodes of Friends out there. It's like a cash cow. It's just milk it.
Well, that's why Netflix has been making their own content for years now. It started small, and they do some weirdo things, but it's content people will watch.
I think they're really good at their series,
people
not their movies though.
Their series is really good. You're right. Their series are really good, but their content, their movies, Old Guard was decent. You know,
that was good. I liked The Devil All the Time. That was pretty good.
Yeah,
it's kind of depressing, but
those were good ones. I mean, and we should do it. We should do an episode on Netflix because it's pandemic time, so we could just like dissect Netflix all day long. You know, because they've got some good stuff coming up, and
I want to talk about Ozark.
And Ozark. We're talking about Ozarks. Yeah,
I don't know shit about fuck.
Yeah, she's the
favorite
best
quote ever. I don't know shit about fuck.
That's, I don't know.
She's just won the Emmy for it, right?
I know. I think she did. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, I think that does it for us, guys. I just wanted to say thanks for having me back. Thanks for getting it back to the fans and to the people who actually listen to this. Our 4 or 5 fans that we have on a regular
10
basis.
years, man. 10.
We're at the 10-year mark, and we still have 4 people that listen to this shit.
Thanks, Mom.
So thanks, Mom.
My mom's never read a single thing I've done.
Yeah. But
come on, Chase's mom.
As somebody who feels passionate about this, fans, if you want us to cover something, if you want us to talk about something, drop us a comment, drop us an email, send us an email. Go to the site, go to nerdlocker.com, reach out to us via the contact, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and let us know what's up. Let us know what we're doing wrong, what we're doing right. So we can get this thing better.
And tell Brandon what a loser he is for not jumping on here.
Yeah. And make sure you give Brandon shit for not jumping onto this one. So, yeah, that sounds about nice. That sounds about right. Give Brandon shit. Check. Got it.
Just every week.
This is just every week. We'll try to make these a little more regular and get content out to you guys on a more regular basis. But for me, Patrick Hayes, thank you very much for listening.
Have a nerdy week.